There's times I reflect on myself when I ain't focused on the flaws in everyone else. When I'm not letting pride stop me from sending for help. When I'm not pretending my emotions.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Pretty good. Thanks for asking. How are you holding up during this quarantine?
Staying creative. Really staying creative. I'm in the studio right now as we speak. Just working on what's next. The arts heals, man. So no matter what we going through, what's going on, stay creative. That's what we got to do. We got to stay creative.
I'm so happy to hear that because I know for a lot of people it's been like yes and no, like a little bit creative, a little bit not creative. So that's really good to hear that it's going well for you.
Aside from that, I still work full time during this. I have a film, and so schools are out of session right now because of Corona. So the kids are learning like via the internet. So I shoot some film of teachers that are doing their lessons that way, and so we're putting the lessons out digitally, and so I'm just assisting in that way too. Any way we could do something to keep the kids learning.
That's so awesome. I'm so glad to hear that because definitely it's a hard time, but I feel like education should always continue to go no matter what.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes. So I was listening to Thank God Always and amazing, because you talk about so many things, and I got to start with the lyrics because the lyrics is what really stood out to me. So, gotta thank God, so
Yeah,
searching, far from perfect, be stressed out, cursing, feeling plagued by these curses. What an opening line.
yeah,
Let's talk about your journey thus far.
absolutely. In that song in particular, it opens the album. So I kind of wanted to give a glimpse at like who I am and the way I view life and some of the things I touched on. I started rapping because of my brother. We're 4 years apart, and just like the majority of the time growing up, entirely through my middle school years, through high school, he's been in jail. He's in jail now. So just kind of like the role that played in the different aspects of life that not only I seen through just being alive, but also through his journey and the pain that kind of brought on, like the family, like our mother and all that. So, I wanted to like draw that connection to be close, as that influence is so heavy and prevalent in my life. And then, just getting into some of my beliefs as far as God. If I could talk about a story about actually in that song in the second verse, one time this was my senior year of high school, and I had my mom's car, and so I had to pick her up from church. So I pull up to the parking lot of the church. She's taking wild long. So I'm me being impatient, like I got things to do, places to go. I go inside the church and sit in the back just so I could be like visible in the back, looking all annoyed. So she hurries up. But what happened was they called me to the front of the church, the person preaching at the time. And he's like, I want to ask you a question. I said, all right, go ahead. What's up? He said, do you believe in God? He said, before you answer, though, I want you to really sit and think about that. So I said, yeah. So he says, why? I said, because it's the thing that makes the most sense out of all the theories that I heard of. Like the Big Bang Theory, XYZ, like this makes sense to me. Like the way I process it, I get this. He says, so you kind of believe in God. Like by default, you believe in God. He said, what is one thing that could really make you believe in God? And at the time, I was failing out of school. My senior year, I was failing. I wasn't passing. I missed so many graduation requirements. So he was like, there's one thing that like, if God could make happen for you, that you would believe. I said, yo. So I tried to think of the most impossible thing. If I could graduate high school with my class on time, I believe in God. Man, that journey is a whole it's a whole longer story we'd have to get into one later day. But like, needless to say, like I ended up graduating, and like just the things that I've seen and the way it happened, I said, this is nothing but God. So like hindsight is 50, 2020, when, you're looking back at things in retrospect. So just that, and then moving forward, me being more conscious to like when things were working out in my life, or when they weren't, and there was a turning point, why these things happen. Just looking back, like I'm realizing, like, yo, God, you held me down, dog. Like you really looked out for Franc Grams. So, this project is where I'm at as a man in life. It really just sums it up. Thank God always.
I really love that. And I was listening to the lyrics and I heard the story, and you're really, really good at storytelling in your music,
Thank
which
you.
I think is dope. Yeah, no, seriously. And that was actually one of my questions. I was like, how did this impact who you are today? And you kind of just answered it because I
Yeah.
know she was talking about night school, having family members in jail, and then the testimony, seeing that God is real. So that's amazing, and that you could talk about it and say that it's from experience. It's not you were listening to somebody and decided to believe them, you know?
That was the journey in itself, even getting there. Even when I look at like the differences from my music in the past to now, like I've always rapped about things that I knew, or like things like I never was fabricating and making things up. But in my music, the one thing that would come up missing a lot is like my purpose. And I think like now, more than ever, like you really start to like see who I am, what I believe, and what I love shine through every song that I'm putting out, even the ones I'm turning up. I think there's one was In the Way. This what I do. Don't twist it to get it confused. I don't do front end publicity stunting, but they do it sick and I isn't amused. That shit to get you a clip in the news, in the view, and you just want the views. I don't do shit for the views. Book the vacation and switch up the views. Y'all should be talking about how to get paid. Instead, you be watching us hating on niggas and talking about all their mistakes, calling them out like a sick day. I should come out with it. So even that, like, I'm so big on like people not judging people. So it's like, yo, y'all sit
Yes.
around and y'all talk, yo, y'all should be getting y'all shit together. But instead, y'all talking about. So I just try to really infuse myself and my purpose more in all my music these days.
I really love that because, you have the album cover. Like, so when I first saw the album, I was like, so is it gospel? Like, I was really trying to figure out where you was going with it. And I was listening to it and I was like, okay, wait. So it's a mixture of everything, but I think it's cool because you're telling people, like, well, at least the way I interpret it is don't be afraid to come to God. It doesn't matter if you're perfect. It doesn't matter if you're all the way there.
But yo, even no matter what you're doing in life, you could be in the trap, like hustling, getting to it, whatever it is. Like you could be a stripper, like whatever you
Yeah.
do in life, in school, you could be entirely like, engulfed in religion, whatever it is. Like there is every situation. Waking up is a reason to thank God. I mean, like getting through things alive. Now means the reason to thank God. Successes, failures and opportunities to learn. Like it's another reason to thank God. So, yeah, and I mean, like my beliefs are my beliefs, but I feel like no matter what it is that you believe in or how heavy you're into like religion, like just thanking God, no matter what it is. Like it's not specific to Christian or anything like that.
Yes, I love that. And shout out to Danny Ray. Shout out to everybody who's tuned into this live right now. Yes, as we get into this, it's really dope because you use incredible beats. So if anybody hasn't heard Thank God Always, make sure you tune in, hear about the journey, hear about the stories, because several songs have stories, but we're going to get into that a little later. The marathon continues.
Uh-huh.
Listening to that song was amazing. You got this line, I've been grinding, trying to get it. Let me fix it. I ain't trying to. I ain't trying. I must get it. They say you manifest all that you speak into existence. That was like a really powerful line.
Yeah.
Super powerful. So I want to talk about three things that was in your mind that you wanted to manifest when you came up with this lyric.
Um. So before getting it, I actually stumbled into making this project on like accident. So I kind of stopped making music for a little while. I just lost like the love for it. Um,
Oh.
as somebody who's made music his whole life, right? Battles when I was a kid, 9, 10 years old. Um, you get to this point where you start trying to do things that are going to contribute to your success. This idea of, billboards and Grammys and like that kind of success. And you start trying to do things that you feel like would push you closer to that. The ways your music is going to sound, the topics you're talking about, the beats you're picking. And I started to like lose like the essence of like what it was that just made me love being creative. So again, I have a studio and I work with kids a lot. I have this annual talent show I do, and I work with kids in the school. So I had this one young kid. He was in 8th grade at the time, last year actually. He was in 8th grade, and I started working with him. I wanted to see him win, so I knew I had the resources that could help him. And just being around his like his untainted energy. I mean, he wasn't worn down from years and years of, making music and things not going well and things effing up. I like just fell back in love with like being around that kind of energy because he wasn't, dealing with those things that were in my mind yet. So just like the whole it being contagious, like just loving hip hop. So what I wanted to manifest now to answer your question, I really wanted to just manifest getting back to just being me for the sake of being me, unapologetically loving what I do, and just being wholeheartedly invested into it. I put out this project. I didn't care who was going to listen to it. I didn't care what people would think about it. I knew that if I put it out, like there are going to be people that are going to hear those stories and they're going to be inspired, or they're going to see that somebody like them overcame XYZ. They're going to just enjoy the music. So I think just in a nutshell, what I really wanted to manifest is just like, yo, dog, be you, man. Like there's no like cookie cutter idea of success. And, like when I look at some of the things I've done, people I've worked with, people I've impacted, platforms in my city I created, those are successes in themselves, man. So just getting back to that.
And the main thing about the marathon continues, right? So of course, automatically Nipsey comes to mind as I keep listening to the song. Wow. Like, first of all, I didn't know until I heard that song that you did a song with Nipsey Hussle. I was like, wow, that's impressive. You were on the phone with him. Then, Sway played it on rotation. You actually didn't even like Nipsey's verse. Like, that's insane. Like, first of all, for you to even be able to say that to him is
Yeah,
huge.
that wouldn't have been true if I didn't tell him in the moment of like talking to him. He had a lyric of his where he said, I'm like paraphrasing, but it was like he as an upcoming artist, he was like record label execs just be like starving artists, just be happy with your deal, nigga. Like just because like they have all this money and you a starving artist coming up, just be happy with your deal. Don't worry about the specifics and how much money. So with that like resonating in my mind, like I'm talking to Nipsey, I'm like, do I stay true? Like, so I quoted that to him too, and I was like, I felt like you gave me a verse, like, yeah, starving artist, just be happy with a Nipsey verse, nigga. So like, it was what it was. So that part when I sent that to him, that was via text after we talked. Like that's when I kind of built up the courage to just let him know, like, yo, Nipsey, this is how I feel. And he said he respected it. He was like, yo, you know what? I'm gonna get you another verse. I never got the other verse, so nothing like that. But yeah, I just felt like I had to kind of just be honest with it, man. Like for somebody who respected and respects him so much, I wanted to at least, no matter which way it went, have that moment to be just me and be honest about the situation.
Yes, absolutely. So first and foremost, rest in peace to Nipsey Hussle.
As a stand-up guy, man, like real dude.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, from what I could tell, I unfortunately never met him.
Yeah.
How did you actually get on the phone with him in the first place?
All right, so it was bugged out. So we had the situation all locked in as far as like doing the song together. Me and Davies were already on the song for like 6 months before I reached out to Nipsey. I felt like it needed something. So we reached out. I never like met Nipsey. Like I reached out, just handle it how we handle it. I reached out to his people. They were willing to make it happen. We got business side out the way. And it was taking wild long for Nipsey to finish his verse. I mean, like a whole year had gone by. So I was reaching out and I wasn't catching responses. So me being like bitter in the moment, he had tweeted something and I had responded to the tweet being sarcastic and cryptic about, yo, dog, son, I'm still waiting for this fucking verse. Like, and so he jumped in my inbox like, yo, call me. Like, I'm gonna tell you what's going on, with the verse and whatnot. So we got on the line, and that's how we, ended up talking about the verse and whatnot. And we talked about doing the video. He was with doing the video. He really, this was before him and Davies actually met too. So they had no
wow.
for us doing this record. And yeah, man. So we had that conversation because of that tweet, and that's pretty much how that was.
That's so awesome. So you basically merged both of them together
I don't
in a way, like
they would have met regardless anyway. I just know at that point they didn't connect yet.
that's so dope.
With Davies, so how the Davies situation happened, this was before he was Davies, right? There was a promoter in my city that booked Davies because they were a fan of him at this little bar in my town. And so they locked him in. Then they reached out to me. They locked me in.
Okay.
So we both had the show. We both headlined the show. And like while like the weeks leading up to the event happening, people are like, "Yo, you're doing a show with Dave East, Dave East." And I'm like, "Yo, who's Dave East?" Like whatever. So I started looking into it. I'm like, "Okay, Nas cosign, blah, blah, blah." I'm listening to music like, "Yo, he's dope." So after the show, his manager at the time, I knew his manager from, I don't know why I knew his manager, but like we were cool. So I was like, "Yo, let's go back to the studio, the same studio I'm in right now." And I was like, "Yo, let's get a record done." So they was with it. We got the record done. Right after that, I have another one with Davies too called Summertime, a little more radio friendly and playful.
Nice.
And so I held on to that record, and I with Nipsey. Though Nipsey's a legend, right? For the people who know Nipsey, he always had like this. It always seemed like he was this upcoming artist. No matter how many years and how established he was, it always seemed like Nipsey was about to blow. And as we see now, like where his trajectory was heading even before he died, like Nipsey was on a whole different level than than he has ever been in his career. So I wanted to like put Nipsey, Dave East, and kind of insert myself in the conversation as like these three upcoming giants in the hip hop game, and so I felt Nipsey was very suitable for it.
Wow. Okay, so that's clever, and I see the way you did that, and that makes a lot of sense.
But
Um, Shout out to Damon in the chat making this happen. Shout out John V, Rich Off Life TV, Trini Boy. Yo, so that story is amazing, like absolutely amazing. I would have never guessed that because I want to know from you, what was that feeling when you finally got the song done, where it's Nipsey, Davies together, locked in, and now it's up to you whenever you want to drop it.
I think it was for one, it was surreal. I think in the moment though, because this was during that time where I mentioned that I was trying everything just to capture this success. So having the record, I was eager to put it out, but I held on to it for like maybe a couple years actually. I held on to
Wow.
because I knew, or I felt at the time like, yo, this is my one right here. Like if I play my cards right with this right here, like it could be everything and more than I imagined it could be. So I was kind of real cautious and guarded, and like I tiptoed around how we would actually put it out and whatnot. So, but it was dope. I think now more than then, as I'm removed from the situation, I could look back and really like appreciate what it was now more than when I was in it, because I'm not worried about the pressures of putting it out in XYZ. I'm just looking at like, yo, wow, like you did this song with French Montana, you got a song with Dave East, Nipsey Hussle, The Game, like, yo, you've done a lot, like, and not shameless at all. Like I pat myself on the back just for like weathering storms and staying with it and investing time, energy, dollars, and being able to, put that much into my artistry.
Yes, I love that. And that's not your only two features. You've also had a feature by The Game. Tell
Yeah.
me about that. Like, how did that come about?
So with The Game, I did a remix to his song "Bigger Than Me." It was dope song, hot, a lot of emotions in it. I just like vented at the time. I think like I have relatives that still don't talk to me because of how transparent I was in that record. But it's cool. That comes with being an artist, man. That speaks their truth. That sometimes you get caught in the crossfire of facts and whatnot, or like opinions and thoughts. But so I did this record. I put it out, and at the time I was doing like freestyles every week. And my manager, he would take the freestyles and find all of the contacts of the artists, that whoever was associated with that artist, manager, A&R, videographer, he would send it in to him. So he sent it to his manager, and he reached back out like, yo, this is dope. Like, yo, what do I got going on? And so he was like, yeah, we're working on XYZ. He was like, yo, well, like, what are y'all trying to do? Are y'all trying to work? Like, we was like, dog, we can't afford The Game. Like, stop. All right, good luck. I mean, it's love, but we can't. He was like, yo, nah, we down to work with you. Like, this is dope. And one thing from there led to another, and we actually got the song done. Game, he sent the verse in the very same week that I sent him the song. So like there was love there. Like it was cool. That was a moment. In the moment, I was wild. Like, I've been a Game fan. Like there was no thinking of playing chess or none of that. I was just hyped that like, yo, like I think it's even more how the situation happened, like them just being willing to work regardless of whatever the situation was. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about, like clout. I didn't have and don't have 10, 20, 30, 40, 100,000 followers. So it wasn't about any of that. So it was kind of that was special to me.
Wow, that's huge. I would have never thought you would have got it back in a week, neither, to be honest. I'm like, what?
And yeah, word.
Yes, that's incredible. So the thing about your music, like I was saying earlier, there's a lot of storytelling in there, and I really got to get into some of these songs. So Get Your Money Girl, I feel like could apply to a lot of people in this day and age, and a lot of people probably need to hear this song. It was really dope. By the way, I really like the voice I heard on there. You got some really dope female voices on your project too that I want to get into. Like, are these your homegirls? Like, what's happening?
So that talent show that we'll talk about, I sent you the documentary for. They're both participants that were in my talent show, and they're artists, and they're artists themselves. Brie Lavelle is one, Victoria Hazard's another. Brie Lavelle's on two. She's also on Understand You as well as Get Your Money Girl, and then Victoria Hazard, she closes the album out. They're all from my area, man. A lot of talent is here. I feel like CT as a whole. But in particular, New London and New London County is a lot of there's some gold here, man. They got to be tapped into.
No wonder. I'm listening. I'm like, who are these artists? They sound really dope. Okay.
Right. You've been saying you gon' leave them when the time right, but the time don't never come. When it does, and you look at it in hindsight, you gon' understand why your girls always questioning your eyesight. Having trouble leaving them alone, cause you ain't used to being on your own, and the season getting cold. Snap story, he be seeing every post getting thicker, so he ringing up your phone, and he try to bring you home.
So thank you for answering that already. So I love when you tell stories. A lot of your songs tell stories. Are there any artists that you listen to that tell stories that you look up to? I know Tupac did it a lot. Dave East even does it. So curious to know like 3 artists maybe that inspire you.
Jay-Z storytelling game is unmatched. J. Cole is special. Eminem is dope. Dave East, absolutely. You know what? Even like somebody who isn't as big as some of the artists I named, and I guess it's almost apples to oranges to my music. Troy Ave is really dope at storytelling. He's very descriptive and painting pictures. The Game, special. Nipsey, special. Like these are people I really respect.
Okay, that makes sense. And plus you got features with like half your list. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's lit.
Need the J. Cole one next. We need the J. Cole feature to happen. So
Yes, that would be so dope.
make it happen. I know you got the plug. Reach out to Cole and tell him I'm ready to work.
Okay, we're gonna need a lot of prayer on that one. I don't know if I got that type of
Throw
prayer.
your emoji, your prayer hands up in the comments, man. We need that.
Exactly. Well, we'll post this clip up and then tag him in it and see what happens.
Absolutely. Love.
Yes. So Understand You. I felt like you were paying homage to all the hardworking women out there. Is it safe to say this was inspired by your mom? Because I know you said a line about your mom too.
And there's a lot of single mothers that I've known, and like just me firsthand, that appreciation first coming from my mother, just seeing how hard my mom worked to provide, not even just provide, to keep a smile on, like if I wasn't, older now and just like logically smart enough to say, yo, I know my mom living in as a strong Black lady in America. Like, I know that she struggled. I know we weren't rich growing up. I know she didn't have jobs where she was making 6 figures. So I could process that now, but growing up, not even being able to tell. I mean, like, that's strength as it is. So me seeing that in her is giving that appreciation and understanding to all of the women in situations alike. So I wanted to do something special. I wanted to, shout out, like, yo, I see you. I mean, I know you're working hard. Like, I see it.
Yes, that's so dope, and I respect that a lot. A lot of people can relate to that for sure. What is the most meaningful record you've made to date, and why?
Most meaningful record. So on that project, and I'll talk a little about this too. I have a song called Little Homie.
I knew it.
Little Homie, absolutely, man. That's the centerpiece of my existence right there. And so, if this quarantine Corona stuff didn't happen, I actually paired up with a local program in my community, and their whole pursuit and purpose is creating schools that work for kids of color. And they're militant about it. Like, they're not taking no for an answer, no shorts. Like, they're all about impacting the community and schools to be more like inclusive and fair and loving and accepting of kids of color. So I paired up with them, and we had, between me, them, and BET, we have a video that we were producing, telling the story of Little Homie and a lot of the testimonies of the kids in this program.
Mm.
And so that was going to be a project that was supposed to happen in March, but now it's postponed, obviously, because of Corona. But yeah, that song right there, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So the stories that need to be heard about, kids, and like there's a cultural disconnect between, staff in the school systems and in the world and
Mm.
our kids of color, and kids as a whole. So me being able to zero in on one of these stories so people could get it, and so that, like, when we're talking about these cases, they're not just statistics and in the world at large. Like, I wanted to really give, the story of somebody like, yo, let me tell you about this one kid right here. Look at this. Here.
Yeah. So, out of curiosity too, because I was listening to Little Homie, and that's a very powerful song. So, when you talk about the exact details of that story, is that from like an actual student you may know, or are you combining just several situations together?
Yeah, it's a mix and compilation
Mm.
of a few different elements, that all, each piece of that story is entirely like factual, but it's just
Mm.
different kids in one. Um,
Gotcha. Okay.
Absolutely.
So I love that, especially because What If is really powerful. I feel like What If is like a prelude to Little Homie. It's like What If gives you like the little basic thing, and then Little Homie goes deep. So I also want to talk about your awareness. Like, okay, so a lot of people wouldn't know this unless they literally were at a school and they were maybe working at like central office or something where they would know suspension rates, etc. So I want to talk about that. Like, when was the moment you became so aware and your drive began for children?
Yeah, so I've worked in education for some years, and 2 years ago there was a school that we started from the ground up. So the year that I started working there, it was the first year that the school was, in motion, and I was the operations manager. So my job was like marketing, recruiting, and educating teachers on culture. Like, that was one big thing between me and my directors. We wanted to educate teachers on culture. And our culture, I'm in the inner city, is kids of color, predominantly kids of color, single parent homes. And so, like, in pursuit of, like, looking into numbers and statistics to bring the factual piece while educating, just being one of those kids. I mean, like, in the community, growing up myself, and now being in a position to actually, impact change, and it being my job to impact change in those years. So I would say definitely during the years, a couple years ago when I was the operations manager at the school is when it was like, it was a heightened sense of, because I had to know more. I had to do more.
Yes, and I was listening to that song, and one thing that stood out when you mentioned the amount of suspensions of pre-K students, that was
That was why
huge.
I never looked into it that young. I'm working with middle school kids, so like hearing that, it was like, exactly what she said. Like, things so young affect the life trajectories of these kids and whatnot. And I didn't know it stemmed way back into. I mean, I know in some sense, obviously, but like, to hear those numbers of like how many pre-K kids are suspended, it was just bugged out.
Yeah, it's very sad, and I'm very glad you're shedding light on topics like this because, like, specifically with Little Homie, you talk about how he ended up engaging in criminal activities. His family wasn't there, the teachers weren't helping, and I could tell you're very passionate about this. And it's nice because you're not only making a song about it, you're actually doing something about it. Hence
Uh,
the talent show.
that's
So I want to really talk about the talent show and that moment when you came up with the idea to actually start it, because I know it started from violence that happened in New London.
Absolutely. So there was, for those that didn't, hear of this, there was a murder in my city committed by 4 youth in my town. They murdered somebody that was walking home from work. And wrong as it is, the press took on this idea of, okay, these 4 kids did it from this town. This is what all the kids in this town are like. This is what the youth in New London, Connecticut are about. So from there, like, you're seeing like all of this press and all these conversations happening in the city about what happened. And there's a big meeting at the theater that the talent show now happens in. And they just wanted to create a space for dialogue, for people to vent and talk about, solutions. So I attend this meeting, and the only thing I'm hearing is people talk about kids in New London and these monsters and XYZ. And so, like, my blood is boiling. I'm like triggered at this point. Because one, like, that's what these 4 kids did. And, I won't even go into like making excuses for anything like that, but you can't take the actions of anybody and paint like our city with a broad brush like that. So again, my blood's boiling. I'm sitting there, and it's hosted in this theater. And so I stand up like, yo, everybody in here is like talking and like pointing fingers and casting stones, but like, I haven't heard of solutions yet. Like, even the place that's, hosting this whole meeting, like, I haven't heard of a solution yet. But you know what? This building would be a great place for a talent show. Let our kids show you what they're about, rather than everybody pointing fingers and telling us what our kids are about and what they can't do, and using these dark colors to paint our picture. Let them show you. So the pressure was on at that point. All the media was there, and so we stayed diligent. And the very next year, the show happened, and it just kind of gave the youth a chance to use their passion, their creation, their abilities to stand before this crowd of 1,450 people and say, that's not who I am. What I wrote in those articles and in the comments, that's not who I am. This is who I am. And there was a lot of beautiful things happening. All different art forms, like smiles, and it united the community, because when the murder happened, it was from kids of color murdering a white person. And the divide was just crazy. Like the world, like the racial divide and divide period is an all-time high. So it kind of gave a reason for us to come together. And so now, 10 years later, having this platform affect so many people, kids and beyond, that were misunderstood, communities that didn't understand each other. And now every year they come together, like, for this one day, for this beautiful happening, to support each other, love each other, and enjoy it together. It bridged a lot of gaps.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And congratulations to you for even doing that, because I know that's like a tough challenge normally for anybody to take on.
Love.
Yes, yes. So what was the reaction when you first realized, wow, I sold out a venue over 1,400 people?
Surreal. That's more surreal than the features and like doing these songs. And it was purposeful. That the significance of the theater as well is, growing up, it's just that building is the biggest theater in our area, like our state. It's like one of the biggest theaters. It's a very historic theater, like, to our area. And I've always wanted to like have a platform to be a part of, like, performing on that stage. I performed on it one time when I was in like 6th grade for like all of 45 seconds or whatever. But like, we don't really have access to beautiful theaters like that. So me, just like the kids that I created the platform for, it was beautiful to know that I've created something for them that I once looked for, growing up. So yeah, like, to see like that happen, and that to be something that's happening for 10 years, and to see the community support it, surreal, man. I can't even really put that into words. I think watching the documentary didn't drop yet, but I think the moment that I get to watch the documentary, to see the way that it changed our community and impacted so many people, I think that's going to be the moment where I'm going to be like, yo, wow. Like, because even in the trailer, like, you see like people be affected that struggled with addiction, trans and being gay, like the stereotypes and like how taboo it is, just how she said in the documentary. People that were caught up with that crowd who murdered the kids, who like had this as an escape. Like, there's just so many people we impacted. So I think when I sit back and really watch it, it's going to be a moment for sure.
Wow, that's huge. Like seriously, I was watching that and I could tell how much you've helped change so many people's lives. So I would like to know from you, what is one of the most impactful stories you've heard? Because I know a lot of people came to you and said thank you and, you know, express how they were able to go in a better path.
Yeah, they're all impactful in their own right, man. I think I think it's cool. There was one group that we and it was the one kid in the trailer that talked about, you know, he probably would have been dead if he didn't have the talent show. It was cool to see him and his dance crew go from being on that Guard Theater stage to being on the BET dance battles when they were doing 106 in Park. Like that was cool. Or to the person,
Nice.
you know, struggled with, you know, being addicted to opioids, go on to being somebody that travels, you know, talking to schools about like, you know, staying encouraged, staying motivated, and using his story as a testimony. I think those moments where you see people use how they've overcome their struggle and they package it up in a way to then like help other people realize like, yo, you could do it too. Like, look at me, like you way better than I am, you way better than I was, and like I know you got it because I did it. And then people using those examples to say, yo, damn, like he might be right, you know what I mean? So I think just all of them are they touch people differently depending on how much it resonates with you, how much you could connect to it. So I could name any story from, you know, those kids that were impacted.
That's amazing. I love that. And if there's somebody out there who comes to the talent show, what is one thing you hope they feel by the time they leave the theater?
The same thing. So I think the talent show
Hmm.
as a whole, when you see all of these, because we let it be known some of the backstories while the show is happening, and we're every annually we're looking for, you know, new people to, if they're not involved with this process throughout the year, we have so many other platforms and opportunities for them to get involved. So I think the big thing is we want people to come and be inspired to be great, to pursue whatever it is that they love as well. And the people on the stage, yeah, their stories and their overcomers and their, you know, successes in their own right, but I want them to also look at them like examples and to say, okay, like these people are on the stage, and out of these 50 people I've seen take the stage tonight, I'm something like one of them at least. So I should
Hmm.
go out there and do my thing too, no matter what it is.
That's dope. Have you gotten a case or a situation yet where it's like, let's say there was somebody out there who were like, you know, all the youth are bad, they're all the same, where they said, okay, wait, maybe they're not. Have you seen any of the naysayers like come back around?
Yeah, so the press, the narrative about our youth and the way that we're written about, well, I say where, like I'm still, you know, 18, 16, 15, 12 myself. The way that the youth of our city and just people as a whole are spoken about when it comes to press. Now, like we have relationships with them. Our press, our main press source is the people who produce the documentary. So I think the understanding there and the way that, you know, they are firsthand impacted by, you know, what it is that we do here is beautiful to see that. Um, Beyond that, a few years ago, our big thing, one of our, every year we have a different theme, like a different hashtag that we push, this like an agenda. And one of the years, bridging the gap was one of our hashtags, our theme. And so the biggest like thing that we think of when bridging the gaps in our community is the divide between the police and the kids, or police and people, period. So the police got involved, and for every rehearsal, every week, they brought pizza to the kids. And there was this one viral moment that was on the news where one of our kids, he was, I think, 8 at the time, he had a dance battle with a police officer, young black kid, tall, super huge white police officer, and there was a dance battle, and the news was there, and it went viral. So those ideas of hope to say like, yo, like from one side, not everybody can be painted with a broad brush like the kids in our community were. The same way with the police or anybody in any realm, you can't just take a group of people and paint them as if they're all the same. And it's stories like the dance battle between the police officer and the kid, and how they brought pizza and, you know, vibed with us throughout the year, and stories beyond that show there's like glimpses of hope to, you know, how we can change things and, you know, how things can change.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm so happy that you were able to make such a huge difference and for 10 years straight at that.
Yeah.
So that's so cool. So when do you actually hold these talent shows?
They happen every April now, but Corona. So I think for this year, we're trying to find ways to keep the platform going without holding it off too long. So there's ideas of a taping and things like that, and seeing how we can use like social media and digital media to keep it going for this year, because the cast is already picked. They worked hard for the past 6 months. And so, now they're ready to go and people are ready to see them. So we're just looking for a way to safely make that happen and navigate Corona.
That's so cool. I'm so glad you guys are doing like a workaround for it because this is huge and epic. And I definitely want to come one year. So that's why I'm asking. I'm like, so when do you hold these?
Where do you live, by the way?
New York.
Okay, okay. So you're a drive up the highway. Oh, cool, cool.
Yeah. I'm like, that's not bad. I would come out. I would love to see that.
Absolutely, that'd be great.
Yes, yes. Um, so, that's epic what you do for your community. I got a chance to talk to you about the talent show, which was really important. I really want to talk about the ending of the project, right?
Mhm.
So you say on the song "Before I Go," had to vent before I go.
Yeah,
So it was really deep because you're more vulnerable than any other song. I feel like that song you talk about things that you still struggle with, things that you're looking for. Why was it important for you to put it out there so people understand that you're human too?
exactly what you just said. So you go through this whole album, and I have so much advice and so many stories of overcoming and ways that we could view things, and like this whole idea of being happy, which I am. I think it's important. I think for that to resonate with people, I can't come across like some superhuman that has it all figured out. I think people need to understand that, like, yo, I'm in the same shoes you're in. I'm on that same boat. Like, I'm going through things. I'm dealing with things. I'm navigating life as we all are. So I wanted to give people a glimpse at, some of the things that I'm dealing with, and my vulnerabilities and whatnot. So that when you do listen to the album and some of the advice that I'm giving does hit home with you, you don't mark it off as if that might not apply to you, because you can't really utilize it because you're not at this point that I seem like I'm at. So I wanted to give people that. Like, I wanted to, be like entirely transparent and just show like, yo, dog, I'm here too. Like, shit's effed up over here too sometimes, and all the time in pieces. But yo, we still have to be great. There's still ways for us to view this and tackle these obstacles that are in front of us and face adversities. So I just wanted to give people some of my pain too.
Wow, that's epic. Speaking of that you're human and you go through this stuff too, I want to go back to you. So when you were growing up, when you went through struggles like, the talent show wasn't around because you had to be older in life to come up with that. So what helped you navigate?
All right, so there's one more story I'm gonna give you. So when I was in seventh grade, right? I used to rap battle everywhere, but even online. So, AIM Messenger, AOL Instant Messenger, there were like rap sites where people would go and just battle. And I would do this all the time. And then I would come to school and I would print them out or show my friends, like, yo, look at this battle I had. So one day I printed out a rap from the school computer. And the computer was jammed, so I had to keep printing it. And finally, like, it printed. I got it. I went home. I come back the next day. I get called down to the principal's office, and the principal is like, "Yo, I have this rap that you printed." I'm like, "Oh, like I already got one. It actually printed out. Thank you, though." I'm just thinking she's trying to give me my rap because it printed, and she's like, "Yo, like you know what you're saying in these raps?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like in my mind, like it's just battle rap. We talk about guns and shooting and XYZ. That's just the battle culture. But to them, it's like calls for like, we have to pay some attention to this. This is like serious. Like these offenses in your raps are like not okay. They call my father in. She reads the rap, which sounded hilarious. My old white principal reading my like gun bars and whatnot. Um, and so they're like talking, and I'm sitting there knowing I'm in trouble at this point, but like they go into even suggesting counseling for some of the stuff they're reading. Like, yo, like, we don't know if there's like trauma in his past. And like, right there, like again, like looking back in retrospect, like the cultural disconnect. Like if I seen that from one of my students, I would understand instantly. Okay, battle rap. I wouldn't think, yo, this kid needs a shrink. Like this kid, he's in trouble. Like that wouldn't be like the sign to me that says, yo, we got to get him help right now. This is urgent. So they suspended me, and for 10 days, and it was pending an expulsion hearing for a rap that I wrote. Like, mind you, a rap.
Wow.
So I ended up not being expelled, but I came back, and instead of doing counseling, they linked me with a poet, this lady poet. And I would like meet with her once a week, and we would write. I would read her my writing. She would write. I could bring friends, and this group just started growing. Started growing. Like I could bring a friend, she would bring some people, and we had some dope lyricists like in the mix. It was cool. So like months go by, and I'm like, yo, like I'm sick of kind of just writing in this room. Like I want the world to hear what we got. And in that moment, we've created a platform, and it's a program that still exists to this day, but started because of this suspension, where we would take our life situations and we would write a story told through music, like from scratch, all told through music, and we would perform every year, sort of like the talent show. And yeah, so it's like things like that, like being able to I had that was what I knew what that was for me, being able to do this show every year and being able to showcase my talent and write these stories and put my pain through music. So paired with, you know, the murder and like knowing how the arts could heal, because what it did for me, I knew like this is what I wanted to do. If I was going to impact change and give kids an outlet, the one that was a beautiful outlet for me, how can I create that in today's age? And that's kind of like why the talent show made sense to me in that moment.
Wow, that's huge. That's epic. I love that answer, and I love the fact that you have something that you started years ago that kept going at that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I went back, I've worked with the program a few times in recent years. Some of the kids that are in that program, they come and they're a part of our talent show. So it's just cool. It's cool when life works out like that, man.
Wow, that's huge. So what's next for you?
Well, now I'm kind of adjusting to this curveball that like
Yeah.
Mother Nature hit us with a curveball. So one, I can't wait till Corona's over, because the Little Homie Project with BET and the program in my town, that's going to be special. I feel like that's going to be very impactful. Like when I before I put out Little Homie, I put it out on this project for the first time. But last year I performed it at the talent show for the first time. The song never released, and I got booked to go travel and talk to teachers and educate them on culture and, you know, talk about Little Homie. So Little Homie became like this thing, to where like people were inquiring, how do we help Little Homie? What is it that we have to understand about our community's little homies? And so I'm just looking to get back to like doing that work. These days it's not so much about putting out music to me. It's about being impactful, being purposeful. And as a music artist, that's just my biggest platform to do so. So I'm just, you know, finding ways to take music and to affect change in life however I can. So on this album, there's a lot of songs that I want to do that with. Understand You, the song about our strong single mothers. I want to do a campaign around that. I want people to understand what I understood, because, you know, I've really viewed my mom, you know, growing up being this strong lady. And I want all ladies, especially our single mothers across the globe, to have that kind of appreciation and understanding and love. So just taking these songs and the ones that I'll make moving forward and finding ways to have those impact people's views on how they're seeing things and how they show love and when they show love, because we need more of that.
Wow, that's incredible. And I'm so happy you're out there pushing that message and various messages that a lot of people can relate to, especially for those who feel like they're not being heard. That's something I think your music does extremely well.
Appreciate it.
And
Thank you.
yes, of course, anytime. And, I feel like this is definitely motivational. So I hope a lot of people take pointers from this interview and maybe start the same thing as well.
And I mean, anybody here who's looking to do anything similar, reach out, man. Like I'm around. I'm not somebody you're gonna, you know, hit up in the DM and I'm gonna serve you. Like we're all in this whole making this world a better place thing together. So if there's any way that I could, you know, help or assist or be a part of something that you have going on, I'm around for it, man. We gotta do our part, and we're stronger when we're together.
Wow, that's huge. I love that. Thank you so much. And where can people find your music and stay tuned and have details on the talent show with the new way that you'll do it?
Absolutely. I'll keep you entirely updated with anything that's going on. But you can find the music, Frank Grams on Spotify, Apple Music, all of the streaming platforms. You can find me on all of those, and to stay connected via social media. Anything new coming up or something on the horizon, like I'll definitely keep you informed, and we'll connect, man. Let's build. If you do connect, don't be a weirdo staying all silent, man. Being a silent follower, reach out, show some love. Let's connect. Let's really talk. Let's build as people.
Yes, that's huge. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it and going through the entire album with me and everything that you've been up to.
Absolutely. Take care. And again, thank you.
Niggas on ammo in my camo like it's Vietnam. Trench coat, Mason Margiela. I played the bench broke. Like how the fuck I'm supposed to give hope, knowing we whip coke. Chain frosted like vanilla icing on me. I'm out in Connecticut with metal shit. I probably got your wifey on me. Call my nigga Frank, let's hit the bank. Just left the gambling spot. Harlem where the cameras watch. Was trapping out the sandwich shop.
It's money over everything, money over all. I don't answer any questions, just the money when it go. If it ain't about the money, then fuck it and fuck 'em all. Cause they probably won't be here when it's gone. It's money over it all. Friends, niggas, bitches, money over it all. Parties, weed, liquor, it's money over it all. I'm working every minute, never take a day off. That's on everything, put the money over it all. There comes a time in every man's life where you will decide who you are and are you true to that God?